I'm Donna from Riverside Beads, and today we're going to show you Kumihino. We're going to show you how to make the braided Kumihino bracelet and all the techniques involved with it. Okay, let's get started with the Kumihino. This is the Kumihino disc. You only need one disc to do various round braids, to do all the assorted different braids I'm wearing here. Lots of possibilities with this one disc here. So we're going to start with the basic technique of the 8 braid Kumihino. It's referred to as an 8 braid, but we actually have 4 strands of cord, and I'm going to show you a unique way to start the braid so we end up with a nice starting point, and we end up with the 8 braids that we need within here. So we're going to take our rat tail. This is 2mm rat tail. Now the 2mm rat tail comes out if you use 4 strands of it at this thickness here. So the way that we've got this one braided. The way you work out your lengths for your Kumihino is you take your cord and you measure your wrist or neck or whatever it is you're trying to make. So I've measured my wrist just roughly there, and I times that by 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've got a tiny little bit spare there. For a bracelet, for most people, it's an average of 1 metre. So it's 4 1 metre lengths that you're going to cut. So that's my first one in my purple. And then this is our second one in our lilac-y colour. And I've pre-cut these already for us. And that's our second one at the same length as the metre. And I've then gone for 2 in the pink, the pastel pink colour. So we've got 4 individual 1 metre lengths. You then take a spare piece of cord, and this is our way of starting it that makes it really neat. Spare piece of cord, it's a scrap piece. I've done it as a different colour so you can see it. I've taken this and I've halved it. So I've got my 4 strands and I've halved it, and I'm taking my spare piece here and I'm tying it in the centre. Now it's just a normal knot over there. We need to be able to undo it at the end, so don't make it too tight. And I've done a double knot over there. Now that's in the centre of that cord. What I then am going to do is take that centre piece and push it through the centre of the Kumihino disc. So it's gone through there. That bit sits underneath there. That will then become the start of the braid, and we'll cut that bit off or undo that bit at the end. Now the way the discs worked out, they can look really complicated, but once you know how to do it, and the way I'm going to show you, the technique's really easy. We're going to lay the disc out either side of north, east, south and west. There are numbers, and we do make reference to those in our patterns and things, but if I explain the technique of how to do it and show you my way of braiding, and hopefully we'll be able to, between the numbers and the way I show it, you'll be able to understand the technique. Now the variation in pattern that you get from your Kumihino on the braided one is determined by how you lay your cords out at this stage. So I'm going to show you a stripe, and I'm going to show you a standard stripe, so you get 1 stripe of purple and 1 stripe of pink. Now I've started popping those in there. I've popped 1 either side of north, 1 either side of east, 1 either side of south there. I'm just, if you notice, slightly holding that in the middle. The only reason is because these were 4 individual pieces. If I don't and I start pulling it, it's going to over pull that through there. So I'm popping that one in there as well. So we've gone, I'll just pop that bit down in the middle. North, east, south and west. And I've got my pink one there and my purple one, you'll see I've gone straight across. This is the pattern variation. So this will create 1 stripe of pink and 1 stripe of purple. If you want to vary your pattern, you change the order that you've put your cords, but they always sit for the standard 8 braid around north, east, south and west. And then here's how we braid. So that's all set up, ready to go now. And this is the technique. Now, as I say, you can refer to numbers if that helps you to understand it. But if I show you my way of doing it, you take your top right hand cord down to the bottom right here. So you take that cord out from underneath, over and into there. Now again, just be a bit careful on that first one, just till we've got it knotted round once, just to make sure that stays in the middle. So I've popped it there. I take my bottom left one straight up to my top left and put that into the little slot there. So I went from the top right down and the bottom left up, straight down and straight up. You then quarter turn your disc. So I'm going anti-clockwise with mine. Stick to the way that you go. So if you go clockwise, keep going clockwise, but with our one, I always go anti-clockwise. Take your top right again, down to your bottom right, and your bottom left straight up to your top left. quarter turn it, top right, down to bottom right, bottom left, up to top left. Now you can see in the centre we've not got much going on at the moment. You have to just make sure that that spare bit of cord stays tucked under, and it's going to take a couple of repetitions more before we start to get anywhere. So we're quarter turning, top right to bottom right, bottom left, straight up to top left, quarter turn and repeat, top right to bottom right, bottom left, straight up to top left. Turn and repeat. Now you'll notice here that the numbers have moved around. So we started on north, east, south and west, but that's why I don't refer too much to the numbers, because it does move around the disc as you go in. So whilst we started on moving that number down to that number, we're now rotated a quarter way around the disc, and that will continue to happen, and that's how the braid comes out. If you focus on this top right to bottom right and bottom left straight up to top left, then you'll know where you are. Quarter turn it again. Now, top tip there, I don't know if you just noticed what I'd done. While I was talking, I'd pop my top right down, which was one of my moves, and I'd left that down. I now know if I put that down, go to do something else and come back to it, then I am then on my bottom left one, ready to go up, that's ready to then move on. So you know exactly where you are. So that's if you need a break, that's the thing you need to do. So we're quarter turning, anti-clockwise again. So it was top right to bottom right. Some people just prefer a sort of easier mantra to remember. So right to right, left to left. But it's really important that you always turn it, so you only ever having two at any one. Well, you have three when you move one down, but then that means you've always got to do another move before you move on. So you've only ever got two at any one point. Quarter turn it again. Now I'm going to pop my one down, and I'm in a bit of a tangle, or starting to get in a bit of a tangle underneath, because this is rat tail and it's quite silky to work with. You can just, a bit like your hair with conditioner, just sort of smooth it through, and that untangles that sufficiently for us. So that's ready to carry on. So occasionally just do that with your cord. So I know where I am because I left my one down, ready to do my one back up again. So I'm on left to left, quarter turn, right to right, and left up to left. Quarter turn again, and there we are on a repetitive braid now. Now your braid is starting to come nicely through the centre there. I can see the pattern. You do become familiar over time with the pattern. I can see it repeating all the way through there. What I then need to do is occasionally, as well as sort of make sure they don't get in a tangle, turn it upside down. Now when you've got this piece tied here, that's quite handy for holding on to and giving a little pull occasionally. I don't know if it's as obvious at this stage, but that lengthens the braid and just makes it fit. Otherwise it stays quite a fat braid. So it depends how you want it to sit. If you want it to sit as a fat braid, you can leave it. But you will need to make a bit of an allowance for a bit more cord if you're doing that. So I've pulled that through, and although it's small, it's only a few repetitions, and you'll see it starting to come through. And I know when I go back to that, because I left my third one down ready, I know that I'm back on that left, up to left. And that's how we braid through. So regardless of the pattern that you're going to be doing, that's determined by how you lay it out at the beginning. The braiding is exactly the same for this standard 8 braid Kumihino, whichever design that you're deciding to do. So you can vary your colours. You can go up to 4 different colours. Well, you can go up to 8 different colours of cord potentially, but 4's a comfortable number to play with. There's lots of experiments you can do with your patterns and your layout. And you'll see when you get going, it's a great technique for, you can be watching telly and doing it, and it's quite a repetitive braid to do there. We're now at a point where we've finished our braid. So you braid either until you run out of cord or until it's roughly the length you want it to be. The end cap that we're going to add, we'll add on another inch or so to the size. So just remember that when you're working out your measurement. You can sort of test under and see roughly where you're getting to with your size. But if you're precise with those measurements from the beginning, you'll find that you have the right length of cord, braid as you run out of cord. This one's a little bit longer for the size I wanted it to be. What I've done is added a drop of glue right into the centre there. Now I've glued that so this part here, when I take all this off, won't unravel now. So that's all nicely glued in the centre there. I'm going to take this off the disc and hopefully that won't unravel. One of your other options, if you're short on time, is you can tie these off. So I've got to take them off anyway. So I'm taking those 2 colours off there, and you can tie that off there with the pink one on top of it. Because I've glued that, and I can see it's not pinged and done for me, I know I don't need to do that. So I'm taking this off of the disc now. So this is where you can really start to get your measurements and double check. So I've got it off my disc, I've got this bit here, and I've got this bit in the other end. But other than that, I'm pulling that, and that's at the length that it needs to be. So this is where I can test it around my wrist and make sure it's the size I want it to be. That's about right by the time I add the end cap on. So I've got two ends to sort out here. One of them is this end. You untie the knot, which I've just done there, and you slide this out. And in theory, that will slide out. It may splay out like that, but it won't go any further than that. So that's the furthest out that should go. It won't keep unraveling. That's all going to be glued in our end cap, so I'm quite happy with that. This end, I've glued it. That's ready to dry, and I'm going to cut that off and put it in the end. Now with this end, I'm going to show you how to put the end on, and I'm going to have the glue at the ready for that, and just in case that does start to unravel slightly. I'm going to pop a piece of paper, just so I don't get glue all over the table, and I'm going to take my glue. This is a brand new glue, and you do find them, they're a little bit keen to burst out there. Okay, I'm going to undo my end cap because I want one on one end and one glued on the other. And I'm going to put that glue, it doesn't even need me to squeeze it, into the end cap. Now my advice here is around 1/3 of an end cap full, something like that. Let me just squeeze a little bit more in. I'm trying to squeeze without it overfilling. There it goes. Okay, so about 1/4 of an end cap full. Okay, that should be okay there. I'm going to pop that there for a moment. All right, so this end here, a little bit splayed out. We just need to make sure that we get it nicely into the end there. And we're popping that in, round like that, so that's nicely covered. I'm pushing it in, and I'm going to turn it round. What that'll do is just make sure that the glue is coated all the way around the braid. Now it's a fairly slow drying glue that I've used, so that's not going to be ready to use for a while. That end is there though, so long as I don't knock that off. The other end, okay, I said I'll get the glue in the end cap first. So I'm going to pop my glue there, 1/3 of a cap full. Something like that. If you notice when I do the glue, I do scrape it off on the edge. It just stops it trying to get too much over all the sides and things. Okay, this is where you have to be brave. I'm going to hold it just there because that glue I'd put on isn't quite dry, so it just stops it all unsplaying for me. That end there, I'm going to then put into there. And again, if I twist that round, that one needs you to be a little bit more careful with that end because that one did unravel a little bit. But you can see that you can save it, it glues it into your end. So that's all ready to go. It just needs to dry, and then we'll be able to do your clasp up, and it's ready to wear. And then these little surplus bits you can keep for tying up other projects as well. Thank you for watching our Kumihino technique. I hope you've enjoyed it and picked up some top tips today. I look forward to seeing you again soon on Create and Craft.